Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Latrice Crawford, and I am 32 years old. On the night I married Quentin Mitchell, I hid inside the walk-in closet of our honeymoon suite at the Grand Rittenhouse Hotel in Philadelphia, waiting to surprise him. My wedding dress was too full for crawling under furniture, so I had slipped behind a row of hanging garment bags near the bathroom door, pressing one hand over my mouth to keep from laughing. Quentin was supposed to walk in, call my name, and find me jumping out like the playful woman he said he fell in love with. The clock on the nightstand showed 11:47 at night. The reception had ended 20 minutes earlier, and Quentin had told me he needed to speak with his mother, Celeste, and a few investors before coming upstairs. After 2 years of dating and 6 months of engagement, I thought waiting a few more minutes was nothing. I was wrong. I stood in the dark closet, still unable to believe that the day had finally come. I was Quentin Mitchell's wife now. My mother would have cried if she had lived to see it. She had died of cancer 3 years earlier and left me her company, Crawford Systems, the technology firm she had built from a rented office and stubborn faith. After she died, I felt hollow. Then Quentin appeared at a charity gala in Washington, District of Columbia, charming, patient, and attentive. He remembered my coffee order, sent flowers on hard anniversaries, and told me my mother's company was a legacy worth protecting. He made grief feel less lonely. He made love feel possible again. That was why I trusted him. That was why I had signed a prenuptial agreement his mother's lawyer drafted after Quentin convinced me it proved he wanted me, not my money. I ignored my lawyer's warning because I was tired of being suspicious of happiness. The suite door clicked open. I held my breath, ready to jump out, but then I heard heels. 2 sets of heels clicked across the marble entryway. One pair had the sharp, confident sound of Celeste Mitchell's red-soled designer shoes. The other was lighter, faster, nervous. I went still. Celeste was Quentin's mother, not someone who should have been entering my honeymoon suite. A younger woman's voice whispered, "This is dangerous, Celeste. Are you sure she is not up here?" Celeste answered, "Quentin thinks she is still downstairs saying goodbye to relatives. He is keeping the investors occupied, and he told me we have at least 20 minutes. My stomach tightened, so suddenly I almost gasped. I moved my thumb across my phone's screen and started recording before I even understood why. Something in Celeste's voice told me I needed proof. They came farther into the room. Through the narrow gap between the closet door and the frame, I saw Celeste sit on the edge of the bed. The younger woman stayed standing near the dresser. She wore a fitted black dress and silver-buckled heels, and I remembered seeing her at the reception, laughing too warmly at something Quentin had said. "I cannot believe you actually got him to marry her," the woman said. 2 years of watching him hold her hand, kiss her, sleep beside her, and play the devoted man. Do you know what that has done to me? My blood turned cold. Celeste said, "Fallon, lower your voice. This is exactly what we planned. Her company is worth $60 million, and she inherited the patents with it. Quentin could never have gotten close to that kind of money unless she believed he loved her." Fallon began pacing. "I have been with him for 5 years, long before he met Latrice. You said he would only need to pretend for 6 months. Then you said until the engagement. Then until the wedding. Now what?" Celeste's voice sharpened. "Now we survive. Mitchell Industries is 3 months away from a cash crisis. We need an immediate investment from her, and after that Quentin needs time to gain signing authority, secure a stronger position at Crawford Systems, and move money without alarming her board. Full control may take 6 months or a year, but the first loan happens now." Fallon stopped pacing. "And I am supposed to disappear while he plays husband?" Celeste said, "You are supposed to be patient. Her trust is our greatest asset. As long as she believes Quentin loves her, she will sign what he puts in front of her." I stopped breathing. Those words settled into my bones like poison. Her trust is our greatest asset. I thought about every gentle message Quentin had sent after my mother died. Every time Celeste called me the daughter she never had. Every dinner where Quentin asked questions about my company and made it sound like admiration. Fallon said, "She looks at him like he saved her life." "It makes me sick." Celeste answered, "That is why she was perfect. Grieving, wealthy, lonely, and desperate for family." Quentin understood the assignment better than I expected. I pressed the phone tighter against my body so they would not hear my hand shaking. The betrayal was not only that Quentin had another woman. The betrayal was that he had studied my pain and used it as a doorway. Celeste stood. The red soles of her shoes crossed the room. "Listen carefully," she said. "Do not contact him directly for 1 month. No surprise visits, no emotional scenes, no jealous messages. He has to look like a devoted newlywed. Once she agrees to the emergency investment, we can breathe. After that, the rest will be paperwork." Fallon said, "And if he starts enjoying this little marriage?" Celeste laughed softly. "Quentin does not love her. He respects her money. There is a difference." Then the door opened. Celeste paused in the hallway and said, "1 year, Fallon. 1 year and you will have Quentin, the money, and the life you think you deserve. Be patient." The door closed, and I stayed frozen inside the closet with my phone still recording, tears sliding down my face without sound. I do not know how long I stood there. 5 minutes. 10. Maybe longer. The world had tilted, and everything I thought was solid had become dust. Then the suite door opened again, and Quentin walked in humming. He went into the bathroom, washed his hands, and came back out. "Latrice," he called. "Baby, where are you?" I did not move. He checked the balcony, the bed, and the sitting area, but he never opened the closet because the garment bags hid me from view. Then he took out his phone. "Mom, she is not here," Quentin said quietly. "No, I do not know. Maybe she went back downstairs. Relax. She is so grateful tonight that she will believe whatever I tell her tomorrow." My stomach turned. He was not confused. He was annoyed that the target had moved. Quentin left to search the reception hall. The moment the door closed, I stepped out of the closet. My dress was wrinkled, my makeup was streaked with tears, and my hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. But the recording was there. Their voices were there. My nightmare had evidence. I sent Quentin a message from the elevator, saying I had run into a cousin downstairs and needed to help her with a family emergency. Then I left through a side entrance and called my best friend, Yolanda Pierce. My second call was to Everett Porter, my family lawyer. "I need to see both of you tonight," I said. "I do not care what time it is. Something happened, and I need help before I make the biggest mistake of my life." At 2 o'clock in the morning, I sat in Yolanda's kitchen in borrowed sweatpants, my wedding dress folded across a chair like the remains of someone else's dream. Yolanda had been my best friend since college, and she had never fully trusted Quentin. She never said he was evil, but she always said he was too polished, too perfectly available, too careful with his answers. I used to call that love. Now I called it training. Everett arrived an hour later in a dark suit, gray at his temples, carrying the same leather briefcase he had carried for my mother for 20 years. He listened to the recording once, then again. By the time Celeste's voice said my trust was their greatest asset, Yolanda was crying, and Everett's face had gone hard. "First question," Everett said. "Did you sign anything tonight besides the marriage license?" I shook my head. "No." Quentin mentioned adding his name to a few accounts tomorrow for convenience, but I did not sign anything. Everett exhaled. "Good. Second question. The prenuptial agreement." Shame burned my throat. "Celeste's lawyer drafted it. Quentin said it proved he was not after my money. You told me to let you review it, but I thought I was being unfair to him. I signed it because I trusted him." Everett did not scold me. That somehow hurt more. He only said, "Manipulation works because it uses your best qualities against you. We will review it now. Until then, you say nothing to Quentin. If he realizes you know, he may destroy evidence or rush the investment." We drove to my house before sunrise and opened the safe in my private office while Quentin kept calling. I sent him another message saying Yolanda's aunt had a medical scare and I was exhausted, but I would come back to the hotel soon. Everett reviewed the agreement at my desk, page by page. Finally, he tapped one clause. "Here," he said. "If fraud or deception induce the marriage, the protections are void and the injured party may seek damages." Whoever drafted this thought it protected Quentin from ordinary divorce. They did not expect you to prove he married you as part of a financial scheme. For the first time all night, I felt something besides pain. I felt direction. Everett said, "We need lawful evidence. Do not hack his accounts. Do not break into his devices. Preserve what you already recorded, and let me move through proper channels." By sunrise, we had a plan. Everett would secure the recording and notify 2 trusted board members that Crawford Systems needed an emergency governance review. Yolanda would stay close to me and help track anything Quentin or Celeste tried to pressure me into signing. I would return to the hotel and play the role of a confused but loving newlywed. Before I left, Everett looked me in the eye and said, "Latrice, you are going to want revenge tonight. Do not waste your anger on a loud confrontation. Use it. Let them think they still have control while we take every legal step needed to protect you and your mother's company." I nodded. My heart was broken, but underneath the broken pieces, something colder had started to form. Quentin was asleep when I returned to the honeymoon suite. He lay across the bed like an innocent man, one hand on the pillow where I was supposed to have been. I went into the bathroom, washed my face, fixed my makeup, and practiced my smile until it looked believable. Then I touched his shoulder. "Morning, husband," I said softly. Quentin opened his eyes and smiled. For one terrible second, he looked exactly like the man I thought I loved. Then I remembered him telling his mother I was grateful enough to believe anything. "Where did you disappear to?" Quentin asked. I sat on the edge of the bed. "Family emergency. I messaged you. By the time I came back, you were asleep." His eyes studied me. "I wanted our wedding night to be special." I smiled. "We have plenty of nights ahead." Over breakfast, Quentin began the first push. "Since we are married now, we should simplify things," he said. "Joint access, shared accounts, maybe a bridge loan from Crawford Systems into Mitchell Industries. Nothing risky, just family helping family." I stirred my coffee and kept my voice calm. "Let us enjoy being married for one day before we talk business." His smile tightened. "Of course. I just want us to build together." Later, when he thought I was in the restroom, I heard him on the phone near the hotel lobby. "She is emotional, but she is not resisting," Quentin said. "Give me a few days. I can get the loan if Mom stops making Fallon nervous." He turned and saw me watching from across the hall. His face shifted instantly into sweetness. "There you are," he said. "I missed you." The next 3 weeks were the hardest of my life. Every morning, I woke beside Quentin and fought the urge to ask him how long he had practiced lying to me. Every night, I listened to him breathe and wondered how one mouth could say, "I love you," and she is the target with equal ease. But I held myself together. I smiled when Celeste came for coffee. I nodded when she suggested Quentin should help with my investment accounts. I said, "That is worth considering," while Yolanda documented every word. At Crawford Systems, Everett arranged a formal emergency board vote. Quentin had only a non-voting advisory seat, not true board control, and his operational access was suspended under a security review. The explanation was professional, boring, and impossible for him to challenge without showing his hand. Quentin hated it. I saw the frustration in his eyes when his company logins stopped working and his calendar invitations were revoked. "Information security is getting dramatic," I told him one evening. "You know how technology people are after a major system upgrade." Quentin forced a laugh, but his hand tightened around his glass. "I thought your people trusted me." I tilted my head. "Why would that worry you? You are my husband. The review is temporary." His mask slipped for only a second. "Temporary is not good enough when your board treats me like an outsider." I touched his arm. "Then stop acting like you need access so badly." He stared at me, and I knew he was trying to decide whether I was suspicious or simply tired. Everett hired a private investigator named Lawrence Hughes, a quiet man with careful eyes and a gift for finding what people thought they had hidden. Lawrence confirmed within days that Quentin was still meeting Fallon twice a week, sometimes at her apartment in Baltimore, sometimes at hotels outside Philadelphia. The photographs were painful, but not surprising. The worst evidence came from lawful sources. Business filings, creditor letters, investor presentations, and emails Quentin had forwarded to my company account by mistake while trying to impress me with his strategy. One attachment showed a projected rescue plan for Mitchell Industries funded by a spousal bridge investment. Another document described my company as the Crawford asset. Everett said, "This is not enough alone, but combined with the recording, it shows intent." Yolanda also found another woman from Quentin's past. Her name was Tamara Gaines, and 5 years earlier she had been engaged to Quentin while Fallon was already in his life. Tamara had nearly given him access to her inheritance before she caught discrepancies in a joint investment account. When she threatened to go public, Quentin blackmailed her with private photographs and made her sign a settlement. Lawrence found the old filing references. Everett contacted her carefully. Tamara called me one evening, her voice steady but tired. "I thought I was the only fool," she said. I said, "You were not a fool. He was a predator." She went quiet, then said, "If you fight him, I will help." That was the moment I understood this was bigger than my marriage. Quentin personally gave me the final piece. It happened in our home office 2 nights before the dinner party I had started planning as our 1-month anniversary celebration. He thought I was upstairs, but I had come down to get water and heard his voice behind the half-open door. "I do not care what Fallon wants," Quentin said on the phone. "Latrice is not a wife. She is the door. Once I am inside the company, everybody gets paid." My hand tightened around the glass. Celeste said something I could not hear, and Quentin laughed. "No, she will not fight. She worships her mother's memory too much. Tell her it protects the company, and she will sign anything." I walked back upstairs without making a sound. My sadness ended that night. What remained was clarity. Everett insisted on protecting the evidence before any public exposure. On Friday morning, he filed a sealed emergency motion to preserve records connected to Mitchell Industries, Quentin, Celeste, and the proposed investment. He also prepared the divorce complaint, the civil fraud case, and a packet for the prosecutor's office. "Once you expose them," he said, "they will panic. I want the important documents locked down first." I agreed, but I still wanted the dinner party. I wanted Quentin, Celeste, their investors, their polished friends, and every person they had fooled to hear the truth in the same room. "I want him to feel what I felt," I told Everett. "Not helpless forever. Just long enough to understand that the woman he targeted was watching the whole time." Everett looked at me and said, "Then we do it carefully." The party was held at our house in Philadelphia. I wore a black dress, simple jewelry, and the calm face of a woman who had already decided how the night would end. Quentin walked around like a king, introducing himself to my business contacts as if my world already belonged to him. Celeste stood near the fireplace, accepting compliments and telling guests how proud she was to welcome me into the family. Fallon was not invited, but Lawrence had already confirmed she was waiting at a hotel for updates. 30 guests sat for dinner at 7 o'clock. Yolanda sat where she could see me. Everett stood near the hallway, close to the audio controls. Quentin squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, "You look perfect tonight." I smiled and said, "So do you." When the appetizers had been served and the glasses were full, I stood and lightly tapped my glass. The room quieted. Quentin looked up with a proud husband's smile, and Celeste tilted her head like she expected a sentimental speech. "Thank you all for coming," I said. 1 month ago, I believed I had married a man who loved me. I believed I had gained a family. I believed the people closest to me were helping me protect my mother's legacy. I paused. The room went still. I was wrong. Quentin's smile faded. "Latrice," he said carefully, "what are you doing?" I looked at him. "I am telling the truth. On our wedding night, I hid in the closet of our honeymoon suite to surprise you. But your mother entered first, with your real partner, Fallon." Celeste's face emptied of color. Quentin began to rise, but I lifted one hand. "Sit down," I said. My voice did not shake. "You have interrupted me for the last time." Then I looked toward Everett. "Play it." Celeste's voice filled the dining room, clear and unmistakable. "Her trust is our greatest asset. Quentin could never have gotten close to that money any other way. Mitchell Industries is 3 months away from a cash crisis." Fallon's voice followed, bitter and jealous, complaining about waiting 5 years while Quentin played husband with me. The room froze. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. One of Quentin's investors slowly pushed his chair back. A woman beside Celeste covered her mouth. Quentin whispered, "Turn it off." I said, "No. Everyone should hear how you speak when you think your victim cannot hear you." The recording continued. Then I added the second clip, Quentin's own voice from the office. "Latrice is not a wife. She is the door. Once I am inside the company, everybody gets paid." That was the moment the room broke open. People began talking at once. Celeste stood so fast her chair fell behind her. "This is private," she said. "This is illegal." Everett stepped forward. "Be careful, Celeste," he said. "You are already facing civil proceedings, and the evidence packet is going to the prosecutor's office. Anything else you say may help my client." Quentin grabbed my wrist. "You are making a mistake," he said. I pulled my hand free. "No, Quentin. My mistake was trusting you. Exposing you is the first smart thing I have done in a month." Quentin's face twisted. For the first time, he stopped pretending. "You think this makes you powerful?" he said under his breath. "You are still the same lonely woman I found at that gala." The cruelty landed, but it did not break me. It freed me. I looked at him in front of everyone and said, "And you are still the desperate man who needed his mother to help him chase a widow's money." His business partners heard it. His friends heard it. Celeste heard it. The room went quiet enough for his breathing to sound loud. I said, "My mother built Crawford Systems with her own hands. You will never touch it. You will never profit from my grief. You will never stand beside me again and pretend love is a strategy." Then I walked out of the dining room and left him standing in the ruins of his performance. By Monday morning, the dinner party had already done its damage. Invitations vanished. Investors withdrew. Celeste's friends stopped answering her calls. Quentin tried to reach me through calls, messages, emails, and finally by showing up at Crawford Systems, where security escorted him out before he reached the lobby elevators. Everett filed the divorce and civil fraud complaint that morning. He submitted the evidence packet to prosecutors, who opened a criminal investigation instead of pretending private betrayal was only a private matter. The court issued preservation orders first, then temporary restrictions on certain accounts after Everett showed the risk that money could be moved or hidden. Nothing happened magically. Everything happened through documents, hearings, and strategy. That made it even more satisfying because Quentin had expected emotion, not discipline. The first court hearing was not theatrical, but it was devastating. Quentin arrived with an attorney who tried to present him as a misunderstood husband in a rushed marriage. Everett responded with the recordings, the proposed bridge investment plan, the creditor letters, the photographs of Quentin and Fallon, and the messages where Quentin called me the Crawford asset. The judge listened without dramatic speeches. When Quentin asked to return to my home, the judge denied him and issued a no-contact order. "The evidence presented today raises serious concerns about fraud and coercive financial conduct," the judge said. "Until further order, you will not contact the plaintiff or approach her residence or workplace." Quentin looked back at me as if I had betrayed him. I looked through him as if he were already part of my past. The consequences came in a clean order after that. Mitchell Industries lost its emergency investors first. Then creditors moved in. Within 6 weeks, the company Celeste had tried to save with my money entered bankruptcy. Its accounts were frozen by court order, where fraud-related transfers were suspected. Its office furniture, vehicles, and remaining assets were sold off piece by piece. Celeste lost the charity seats and society boards she had used to build her image. People who once fought for invitations to her dinners crossed streets to avoid speaking to her. Fallon was named in the civil filings as a willing participant. She tried to disappear to Houston, but subpoenas followed her, and so did the reputation she had earned. She had waited 5 years for stolen comfort and received public disgrace instead. Tamara testified during the investigation, and so did 2 other women who came forward after the scandal reached the press. Each story had the same pattern: charm, pressure, financial promises, and threats when the woman resisted. Prosecutors charged Quentin and Celeste with fraud, conspiracy, attempted financial exploitation, and related offenses. Fallon cooperated late, not because she had a conscience, but because she wanted to reduce her own exposure. Everett warned me not to expect every hearing to feel victorious. He was right. Some days were slow. Some days were painful. Some days Quentin's attorney tried to make my caution sound like revenge and my evidence sound like bitterness. But every time I testified, I stayed calm. I did not need to shout. The facts were louder than anger. The divorce judgment came before the criminal sentencing. The prenuptial agreement Quentin thought would protect him was voided under the fraud clause, and the court granted me damages within the limits of what could be recovered. I did not take everything because there was almost nothing honorable left to take. What mattered was that he got nothing from me. No company access. No house. No investment. No settlement that rewarded his lies. Crawford Systems stayed mine, protected by emergency governance changes and a board that finally understood why my mother had always insisted on strict controls. When I signed the final divorce papers, I did not cry. I thought I would, but I only felt a clean, quiet release, like setting down a heavy box I had carried too long. Quentin was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Celeste received 7. The judge did not insult them or perform for the room. She simply described what they had done with professional precision: a planned scheme to exploit trust, grief, marriage, and access for financial gain. That was enough. Quentin wrote me 2 letters during his first month inside. I did not open them. Everett reviewed them and told me they contained self-pity, blame, and not one real apology. "Do you want to respond?" he asked. I said no. He spent years using my attention as currency. He does not get one more second of it. Celeste's house was sold. Her accounts were drained by judgments and debts, and her name became a warning whispered in the rooms where she once held court. I kept the aftermath focused on what mattered. I protected my mother's company. I protected my employees. I protected myself. Crawford Systems had already been developing a major platform for small businesses before my wedding, and instead of letting scandal stall it, I gave my team everything they needed to finish it. We launched that fall in Philadelphia to a room full of investors, clients, journalists, and employees who had stayed loyal through the worst months of my life. I stood on that stage and spoke about my mother's vision, our team's work, and the future we were building. I did not mention Quentin once. He had wanted to become the center of my story. I refused to give him that honor. The launch became our strongest quarter in company history, not because I magically healed overnight, but because the work had been real before Quentin ever entered my life. My mother had built the foundation. My team had built the product. I had simply stopped handing my attention to people who wanted to drain me. After the applause ended and the press moved on, I went back to my office and stood before my mother's photograph. "We did it," I whispered. For the first time since the wedding night, I felt proud without pain standing beside it. Quentin had thought my love for my mother made me easy to manipulate. He never understood that it also made me impossible to defeat. Months later, I met Bryce Foster at a business demonstration for the new platform. He was the managing partner of an architecture firm in Chicago, and he came with his operations team to evaluate our software. He was respectful, thoughtful, and careful with his words. He asked questions about the product, not my scandal. When the meeting ended, he said, "Your team built something impressive." I thanked him and gave him my card for the follow-up contract discussion. He did not ask for dinner. He did not push past the professional boundary. He simply said, "I hope your company keeps winning." That stayed with me because he wanted nothing from me except what I had already offered: good work, honestly delivered. Over time, Bryce became a client, then a friend. We had coffee 3 months after the launch, and I told him plainly that I was not ready for romance. He said, "Then we will not call it romance. We will call it coffee." That made me laugh because it was simple and kind. He never tried to rescue me from my past or compete with it. He let me heal at my own pace. Still, I kept that part of my life secondary. My real victory was not finding another man. My real victory was learning that betrayal had not destroyed my judgment, my strength, or my future. I could enjoy someone's company without handing over control. I could be open without being careless. I could be careful without becoming cold. 1 year after the dinner party, the final civil matters closed. I walked out of the courthouse with Everett beside me and Yolanda waiting at the steps. No crowd. No dramatic music. No Quentin. Just sunlight, quiet air, and the knowledge that the war was finished. Everett shook my hand and said, "Your mother would be proud." Yolanda hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. That evening, I hosted a small dinner at my house, which was fully mine again in every legal and emotional way. We ate too much, laughed loudly, and raised glasses to survival. When Yolanda demanded a speech, I stood in my own living room and looked at the people who had helped carry me through the fire. "A year ago," I said, "I found out my marriage was a lie before the wedding night had even ended. I thought shame would swallow me. I thought I had been foolish, weak, and blind. But I know better now. Trusting someone did not make me stupid. Loving someone did not make me weak. Their betrayal revealed their character, not mine." My voice tightened, but I kept going. They wanted my company, my inheritance, my grief, and my future. They got none of it. I kept what my mother built. I kept my name. I kept my mind. Most importantly, I kept my right to decide what my life becomes next. Yolanda cried. Everett smiled. Bryce squeezed my hand once and let go, not claiming the moment, only honoring it. Later that night, after everyone left, I stood alone on the back porch and looked at the stars over Philadelphia. I thought about the woman I had been in that closet, holding her breath while strangers discussed the price of her trust. I wished I could go back and tell her she would survive. I wished I could tell her that the worst night of her life would become the night she finally saw clearly. Quentin lost his freedom. Celeste lost her empire. Fallon lost the fantasy she had waited years to steal. But my best revenge was not their punishment. It was my peace. It was waking up in a home no one could use against me, leading a company no one could take from me, and choosing happiness on my own terms. That was the best revenge of all. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.